Okay, so we're learning page 277, Choviv. This will be the last year with Hashem, and we'll finish the Maamar. And tomorrow, with Hashem's help, we'll start a new kuntris in Yonah Shel Teres Achsidus. I'm very excited about teaching it and learning it. I should say learning it and teaching it. And I hope you'll encourage other people to join, whether they can be online or offline, whatever, somehow to learn the Maamar. It's a fundamental kuntris that we must learn, and tomorrow I'll tell you a little bit about its history. I'll tell you what Rabbi Soloveitchik said about it. It's a very special opportunity, and it all came from Moshe's question. Moshe asked me, what's the difference between the seichel nefesh elokis and seichel nefesh hasichlis? So for that I told him, he asked me that I think last Thursday, and I said, hold your horses. I recall there's a footnote in the English version, and over Shabbos I got a hold of it, and then we learned it together on Monday, part of the footnote, and from there we decided I think it's a good kuntris to learn for our next segment, and it'll probably take us I think till the summer. It's long. I don't want to rush it. I really want to go slow and methodically over it, so that we get the most out of it. It's like once in a lifetime opportunity, you know. I mean, I learned it with Rabbi Yoel Khan when I was a bocher, and I might have taught it, years ago to Balabatim, but the time that I learned it was one time, and so it's if you learn it well one time, you could always go back and polish up on ideas. But anyway, let's go back to this Maamar here, with the Rebbe speaking about the nefesh elikis and nefesh hasichlis and nefesh abamis. And again, this Maamar is also what we call a yesoid. It's a foundational Maamar in regard to the three souls, and particularly the nefesh hasichlis. So from here on, if someone will ask you, do you know of a place where the Chabad Rabbeim talk about this nefesh hasichlis? You would point to this Maramokim as this Maamar as one reference. There are a few others, but here it's in detail. Okay, it came to a friend of mine reminding me that the Rebbe has a sikh in the 15th volume of Likutei Sichos where he talks about it, which I didn't get to look at yet. I will in Mitzvah Shem, and one other place. But anyway, so what are we learning here? We learned about a very interesting concept that there's Toyu and Tikkun. There's the world of void and the world of chaos. And the world of void is very exciting. Creativity and, chaos is very exciting because, it's exciting, but it's chaotic. Tikkun is very boring. Same routine, day in, day out. Get up, put on your pants, go to work, go to shul, go to work, come home, make supper, take care of the kids with homework, go to Ma'ariv, go back to sleep, all day in, day out. You get pretty bored. That's Tikkun. We need both. We need a world of correction, of normalcy, but what we need to do is inject into the world of normalcy a passion that's chaotic. So then what we have is a chaos coming from within the confines of order. So the order bespeaks excitement. Just one second, Yoni. Just like with dating and this is on my mind. Your daughter's finding shidduchim. It's like you meet a guy and he's not exciting, or he's exciting and she's not exciting. Whatever. Is it right away an X? Is it right away what they call them today in the world of Orthodox Haredi dating? It's not shayich. You ever heard those? Do you guys use it in Israel? Here in Brooklyn, those it's not shayich. What does shayich mean? It's not a possibility. It makes no sense. There's no association.
Not relevant. Not relevant.
It's not relevant. Lo shayach. It could be lo shayach. You're right, and it could be it's the ultimate of shaychus. Why? because it's no trick to be exciting outside the confines of normalcy, because then you end up messed in many ways, in different ways, and life can become very, very, very difficult. But when you're able to infiltrate order, that order itself bespeaks chaos, liveliness, excitement, thrill, then you've accomplished a great deal. And this isn't easy. This is an avodah, and this is what we're learning here in the Maamar. The Rebbe says that what the Nefesh HaSichlis seeks is to take the energy of the Nefesh HaBamis, which is from Olam Matoyu, and to infiltrate it with a normalcy that brings the upper Nefesh Elikis' energy into the lower Nefesh HaBamis energy. And in talking with a friend about this whole discussion, he gave me, I think, a pretty good muscle to help understand the two ideas that we've been talking about. Say you're home. You have a house, you have an apartment, you have a place. And say someone breaks in. Someone breaks in. Then you come to shul and your friends ask you what happened. Oh, you had a break-in. I said, what happened? You can give two answers. The lock on my door was not a strong lock. It wasn't from the better locks. I forget what they call them in Eretz Yisrael, but here in America we used to have the double bolts. We still have the double bolts, and what?
Pladella.
Yeah.
Pladella.
Yeah. So I didn't have that. So the ganef, the robber, the thief was able to break in. So what's the and indeed you didn't have such a lock. So if that's the case, then the seichel tells you. You know why the guy broke in? You know how he broke in? Because you had a poor lock. If you had a better lock, you wouldn't be able to get in. That's the Nefesh HaSichlis' response. The Nefesh Elikis' response is, you know why the guy was able to break in? Because you don't have kosher mezuzahs. Oh, wait a minute. Or one of the mezuzahs is not on the right side, or... What do we learn in Parshas Bahar, the first Rashi? Shemitah Seitzel Har Sinai. What's the relevance between Shemitah and Mount Sinai? And the expression that saying as a colloquialism means, what does one have to do with the other? What does the gun of breaking into my house have to do with my mezuzahs between God and myself? And what's the answer? That's the way the Nefesh Elikis thinks. The Nefesh Elikis doesn't say the reason he was able to get in was because of the lock. The reason he was able to get in is because my mezuzahs, something's wrong with my mezuzahs. And the way it filtered itself down here below is because I got a poor lock. But the poor lock was only kind of a facade, a disguise for the real reason, which is the mezuzah, something's wrong with the mezuzah. And by the way, the Rebbe always told people on all kinds of issues, check your mezuzahs and check your tefillin. You come to the Lubavitcher Rebbe with a problem, whether it be health, wealth, parnosa, children, shidduchim, whatever it is. And what does he tell you? Check your mezuzahs, check your tefillin. And that's the answer. There's the perspective of the Torah. There's the perspective of a Rebbe. There's the perspective of Elokus, of Nefesh Elikis. It begins with your mezuzahs. It doesn't begin with the lock. The lock is only a vessel to facilitate Elikus. Moshe, is that a good mashal? Is it clear? That's the difference between the mindset of the Nefesh Elikis and the mindset of the Nefesh HaSichlis. Yoni, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, so I was talking to a friend of mine today. He's a builder, developer. He said that he cannot sit and learn all day, Torah and things like that. He said if he starts to sit, he needs chaos. If he doesn't have chaos, he becomes depressed.
Right.
And he said, I said, okay, do you have ADHD and ADD? He said, yeah. I said, I have also the same thing. I also, very hard for me just to sit. I have to do things.
Okay.
So we were like talking about this, and it's interesting that you brought this up now about this idea, this concept.
Well,
I didn't realize that.
But you see, as difficult as it is for you to sit, you've been sitting at this chair for 4 or 5 years. Why? Because there's something that you like and it touches you and it inspires you. So that would be the chaos filtering itself through the normality, the half an hour that we sit and learn, which is your anchor for the day. Maybe you have other anchors, but I'm glad you brought it up. That's a good nakuda. Because, Yoni tells us, it's hard for him to sit, and I can relate to it. There are those of us that have that issue, and yet when you're able to anchor yourself and you enjoy it because you've allowed yourself to see how you become better, how the sitting, the normalcy, the order is helpful to your chaos. So, you see, what your friend was expressing to me is, this is who I am, and I must have it. Now, the question is, if you must, that's what I'm saying. Not that you shouldn't have it. You should have it, but find an area in your life that it be expressed through order. One area. And it doesn't mean all day. It doesn't mean all night. But whether it be sitting at a job for 2-3 hours in one place, whether it be sitting in a shear, whether it be, every day you have tea time with your wife. What did Dr. Weiss tell us? That the Rebbe told him, and we always repeat this because it's so powerful, that those 15 minutes to half an hour that I have tea with my wife every day is as important as putting on tefillin, or something like that, right? Something like that. In other words, the order can be an expression to make the chaos better, pure, and more legitimate. You understand? So not to take away passion. And that's what Chassidus says. Chassidus Chabad says that the Nefesh HaBamis, and we learned it here also, is most important for its passion. Just we want the passion to be used for godly things and good things. Let's continue now the bottom of 2770, otherwise we won't finish the Maamar. Okay, so we are on 5 lines from the bottom. V'tachlis hakavonahi. V'tachlis hakavonahi amshocha soiros. The Toya became the tikkun. The ultimate purpose is to draw the vessels, the energy of Toya into the vessels of tikkun, which we just explained. This is through learning Torah, doing mitzvahs, and serving Hashem through tefillah. At that time, learning, davening, doing mitzvahs, it's the nefesh elikis that's very active. Lamata, but at the same time, as nefesh habamis, it refines the animal soul through the intermediary of the nefesh hasichlis, but nefesh habamis shabo. And the nefesh habamis, whose source is the world of chaos, what happened is it got the bad rap and it fell below and it cracked and it shattered. But its source is matoyu. From void, from the world of void. And the nefesh elikis, as we says in Tanya, this is part of God. It only comes from the world of tikkun. You hear that? In other words, outwardly, nefesh elikis is greater than nefesh habamis, but if you look at the source, nefesh habamis is really higher in its source, and that's why it falls further away. The kasher on nefesh, top of 1278. And when the nefesh elikis mevarim of dachas nefesh habamis, when the nefesh elikis goes through the activity of refining the nefesh habamis, in zeu havos oiros, the toyu became the tikkun. This is what I just said. This is the idea of bringing the energies, the lights of the world of toyu, the world of void, into the kalim of tikkun, into the kalim of correction. Shazehu, and the only way that's possible is like they emtsoyis nefesh elikis through the intermediary, which is called the nefesh hasichlis. Sehu, and now he finishes and he goes back to the beginning of the Maamar, Pirkei Avos, chapter 3. Choviv adam shnivra elam, beloved is man that God created him in the image of Hashem. So who is this referring to? Says the Rebbe, Shehu nefesh asiklis. Man is beloved. We're talking about a Jew. We're talking about a person. We're talking about God gave every human being what we call a human intellectual drive, nefesh asichlis. Although the primary issue for us is that the next stanza in the Mishnah, beloved is Israel, Shehu hanefesh elikis, which is clearly a reference to the special neshama that only Yidden get, which is called nefesh elikis, aval aschola. But we must know that it begins with Choviv Adam. What was his question? Isser at the beginning of the Maamar, why is Choviv Adam say before Choviv Yisrael? Beloved is man, and then beloved is Israel. You say beloved is Israel, then beloved is man. It says the Rebbe, according to Chassidus and everything that we learned here, no. In order for there to be an appreciation for Choviv Yisrael, Chaviv in Yisrael, you need first the Choviv Adam, which refers to the Nefesh HaSichlis. And he explains. The beginning, you hear the words, very important words, haschalat. Haschalas, so avoida, the beginning of avoida is through the nefesh hasichlis. And afterwards, Chaviv in Yisrael, we can appreciate the beloved Yisrael. Shezeh nefesh elikis. Shayidei avoida zu nasis aliyah gedela b'nefesh elikis. Through this approach, that first comes the nefesh hasichlis, and then the nefesh elikis. It causes an aliyah, an elevation in the nefesh elikis, shebeir boy, which illuminates the person, and it draws down the essential energies of toyu, which transcend the vessels, but kalim hamerubim the tikkun, in an abundance of vessels of tikkun. So in other words, what he's saying is, hascholas avoda. You can't jump. For most people, jumping doesn't work. You have to take steps. And the steps are nefesh hasichlis. And practically, right? If you don't explain things, and you don't give the logic to things, right? Especially Americans, but forget it. We're not, sorry, I'm not saying Sfardim are more belief, have emunah. And even there, Rabbi Vadia Yosef already opened up the whole cradle of learning to the Sephardic world, where he said, no. You got to understand what you're doing, not just, it feels good. So Rabbi Vadia Yosef, I think we could say, is credited with opening seichel within the whole Sephardic world. I'm saying, as a generality. Before you had individuals, the Kafachayim, the Rabbi Ziloi, the Chidah. What?
About the Baba Sali.
The Baba Sali. But it was all very, very emunadik, Yes, Moshe.
I just want to show you, Rodolphin, you said a person has to take steps.
Yes.
They could take it one step at a time. So it reminds me, when we lived in Har Nof, so I've told some of you this, that we davened in the shul of the Boston Rebbe for 2.5 years. And one time my wife and I went to meet with the son of the Boston Rebbe, Rav Meir, who's now one of the Boston Rebbeim. We spoke to him about a certain issue in the home, and he said those words. He said, my father taught or teaches, it's very, very important, you go from step A to B, not from A to C. Because I wanted to take something on in the house. And he was very, very do things like in a very, very careful, what's the word? Like a healthy way.
Right.
In a very healthy steps. Right. That conversation with him, it always made a big impression on me.
Right.
Ever since then.
I hear you.
That-
It's just that this Shabbos, I was sitting with a Yid here. He's a Baba Chassid, and he's a Talmud Chacham, but he also has such a knack for history and details. And he grew up in Brownsville, New York, and then Crown Heights, and now Borough Park. And so I sat for an hour listening to him, and it's like I needed a tape recorder. He was just shooting details, and not about Chabad, just about Boviv and the Bava Rebbes, which I'm always interested in hearing about other Hasidim and other groups and all that. So anyway, one of the things he said to me was, I think it was 1962. He said, and someone came to see the Bava Rebbe of Shlomo Halberstam, the old Bava Rebbe, and the man said to the Rebbe, like, do you know that? And the person either, I don't know if he was religious or if he was modern, and the Bava Rebbe said something to him, and he said to him, don't you know that we went through the Holocaust? Like he shot back. He said, like, I mean, like what, you want me to do this, and God did this to us? That's what he was saying. And he told me that the Baba Rebbe broke out crying, and he said, listen, you're telling me? I lost my whole family. His first family was all wiped out. He says, my beard. Oh yeah, I think he told him he wants him to grow a beard. I think he told him he should grow a beard. So he was Orthodox, he was frum, but he didn't have. So he says, I should grow a beard after the Holocaust. He said, the Nazis in Machshimon, cut my beard 5 times or in 5 places, because when he came to America, he didn't have a beard. The Baal Hasidim have eliminated all the pictures, because they don't want the youth to know this. It's not Makabadik, and I understand. And it's not his doing. He didn't shave his beard. The Nazis, and whatever. That's the way it came. So he told him, I went through the Nazis, and I was forced to shave my beard, and you have an opportunity here in America in 1962 to grow a beard, and he says, and you're telling me the Holocaust? I know the Holocaust better than you. I lost my whole family. The word got out in the little base medrash at that time was, it was still in Crown Heights. It was in Crown Heights when they lived on the other side of Eastern Parkway. Moshe on the other side, going towards Williamsburg, not towards East Flatbush, Kings County. So some of his friends, of this man's friends, heard. And when this was the night of the Seder. This was a discussion that they had, I guess, when he went over to give shulam. The way it works at the Rebbe's, you give them shulam. He gave him shulam, and the Rebbe told him this. His friends heard. One of them said, come. Oh, he calls over, Yankel, come here. Yankel was the Streimelmacher. He says, we're going now to your house. He says, it's dark in my house where I have my Streimels. He says, I don't care. He grabs the person, he takes Yankel, I forget who, he was telling you about a certain Yid, how was an activist, a hates above, and he went up to a block away in Crown Heights, he took out of his dark closet some Streimel, he put it on his head, and he said, look in this little mirror, and he said, it looks good, the guy didn't know what hit him, and he said, yeah, and that's how he put on a Streimel, and that's how he grew his beard. Now, why am I telling you that? That's Toyodik. That's not Tikkun. There's a time for that too. Especially if a tzaddik tells you, don't try to rationalize. Because if a tzaddik tells you something, listen, it's for your own good. I don't want to get into it now, but there have been people who have not listened to tzaddikim and there are no good results. I heard this from people who it happened to, who told me on their own without me soliciting them. I didn't know. I was sitting with someone who told me that he believes the reason why in his family, I think all of his kids, someone told me he heard from this chassid who was a chassid of the Rashab, and the Rashab told him something about a shidduch and he didn't listen, and he said that's why he believes all of his kids got divorced. Now, no one can prove it, right? The fact that they all got divorced, that's a fact. But to say it's because he didn't listen to the Rashab's suggestion for a shidduch, But and there are other stories. I know someone else who went into the Rebbe. He says he has no parnasa. I told you this once. And the Rebbe said, go out and ask a certain chassid what to do. He said, okay. And he goes to the chassid, and the chassid tells him, you should sell shoes. He says, everyone needs shoes. Start selling shoes. He says, I don't know anything about the shoe business. I'm a plumber. I know about plumbing. He went back to the Rebbe and he says, Rebbe, I'm sorry. The Rebbe said, okay. I can tell you that this person's personal life went downhill. I'm not, I was told this, you got to be very careful. You got to be very careful that if you ask a Rebbe, B, if a Rebbe tells you, then, put your tikkun aside and do the tayu, because it's for your own good. It really is. But again, this is argumentative. I'm sure someone could say it's all made up, and you could disagree and prove it, and you can't prove it. You could just look at the facts and say, what happened over here? And who knows? We're not God. We don't know why they got divorced or he had a problem with Parnasa. But at the same time, there is a concept in the Sfarim that the words of a tzaddik are special. Let me just finish the Maamar. Then he says here, he says, and if you want the neshama to attain what we call being a walker, a mahalach, we spoke about this earlier in the Maamar, therefore, you go through the process with the nefesh sichlis. You begin nefesh sichlis, and then it impacts the nefesh elikis, and nefesh elikis, because it went through nefesh sichlis, gets that great aliyah. Okay, this is the Maamar. We will learn tomorrow. Okay, I think everyone has a sefer. Hillel has a sefer too. Does anyone know?
Hillel is traveling right now. He's in the north.
Okay.
So he's going to come back, I don't know, maybe tomorrow, Wednesday, but it's by Isser.
Okay. Okay, so you have it. Okay.
I'm supposed to fly tonight, so I may not be here. I may not be able to be on the shir tomorrow, but in Mitzvah.
Okay, well,
Wednesday.
you listen to the I'll give the history, which I know you love, so listen to the YouTube of it, okay? Anyway, have a safe trip, and everyone else have a gewaldige day, and we'll see everyone tomorrow. Sei gesund. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.